December 1975, Rochester, New York. A 24-year-old electrical engineer at Eastman Kodak has just taken a photograph with a device he built from spare parts, a new imaging chip, and a cassette tape recorder. The camera is about the size of a toaster. It weighs roughly 8 pounds. The image is black and white. The resolution is 100 pixels by 100 pixels. That is not a typo. The entire photo is basically a postage stamp made of gray squares. Saving that one image takes about 23 seconds. And here is the part that breaks people's brains. Kodak built this. Kodak patented this. Kodak employed the guy who invented it, Steve Sasson. The future of photography, assembled in a lab by the company that already owned the present. So why do we keep telling the story like Kodak was a cartoon villain who found a digital camera in a drawer and chose film out of spite? Because that story is satisfying, and because it is wrong in a way that matters. The internet version goes like this. Kodak invented digital photography in the 70s, hid it to protect film sales, and then watched the world pass them by until bankruptcy in 2012. Silicon Valley gets the glory. Rochester gets the cautionary tale. Parts of that are true. Most of the moral is not. Yes, Sasson's prototype existed in 1975. Yes, Kodak filed for a patent, granted in 1978, and did not turn that exact machine into a product. Yes, people inside Kodak worried, loudly, that digital could eat the business that paid for everyone's mortgage. But Snopes and multiple historians rate the oversimplified version as a mixture. The 1970s camera was not hidden because executives were uniformly blind. It was not ready. There was no mass market for look at your photos on a television. Personal computers were not sitting on every desk. The image quality was nowhere near film. Sasson himself later guessed it might take 15 to 20 years before digital could seriously compete, which, awkwardly, was a pretty good guess. So the decision not to ship the toaster camera in 1975 was not insane. It was product management. The insane part came later, repeatedly, for decades. To understand Kodak, you have to understand what Kodak actually sold. Kodak was not really a camera company. Cameras were the handle on the suitcase. The money was inside. Film, photo paper, chemicals, processing. The whole ritual of we'll develop it for you. Sell the camera once. Collect for years. Classic razor and blades logic, except the blades were addictive, social, and printed grandma at Thanksgiving. Digital photography attacks that system all at once. No film, no rolls, no processing line, no come back next week to see if the sunset worked. A camera sale becomes closer to a one-time event, while the recurring revenue stream evaporates. If you are a manager whose bonus, budget, and career depend on the film profit pool, digital is not an opportunity. It is a cannibal with a PowerPoint. And Kodak had a lot of managers who were very good at protecting film. Sasson eventually said something that should be on a plaque in every business school. They had the technology. They did not have the business plan for what to do with it. Read that carefully. This is not nobody saw it coming. This is we saw it, and we could not imagine becoming a company that would willingly shrink the golden goose. When Sasson demoed the prototype, executives asked reasonable questions. Why would anyone want to view photos on a TV? What is wrong with regular photography? Marketing, according to reporting in the New York Times, was not eager to sell a camera that would undermine film sales, even if they could. Again, understandable in the short term, fatal as a permanent reflex. Here is where the story splits from the meme. Kodak did not go to sleep for 40 years. Researchers kept working. Digital units got created. Acquisitions happened. Patents piled up. By 1991, Kodak was selling a professional digital camera system built around a Nikon, priced around $20,000, aimed at photojournalists and specialists, not your aunt at a birthday party. By 1994, Kodak engineers helped build Apple's QuickTake, one of the early consumer color digital cameras. Built by Kodak, sold under Apple's name, which is a hell of a sentence. The technology partner for the future was literally Kodak. The brand on the box was someone else. They were not ignoring digital. They were dabbling in digital while the corporate immune system protected film. Business scholars have been fighting over this case for years, and the best recent work, including a deep study by Natalia Vinokurova, drawing on decades of internal Kodak documents, finds something uncomfortable for the simple, lazy executive's narrative. There is limited evidence Kodak suffered from pure inertia. There is extensive evidence Kodak spent a long time trying to renew itself under uncertainty. R&D, new units, startups, pivots, and still failed to replace the core profit engine before the world moved on. An executive who joined Kodak in the 1990s later wrote in MIT Sloan Management Review that leadership was tracking digital substitution. They knew the wave was coming. The problem was not blindness. The problem was that refocusing required abandoning an ecosystem, chemical manufacturing, coating precision, distribution, retail partners, mental models that had won for a century. Film was not just a product. It was the factory, the expertise, the capital structure. Engineers who wanted to work on digital were told, in multiple accounts, that the money and career paths lived in emulsion and chemistry. Digital projects competed for funding against projects that paid the bills right now. This is where Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma stops being a buzzword and starts being a diagnosis. Kodak was excellent at improving the thing it already sold. Better film, better chemistry, better processes. Those are sustaining innovations. They make the current machine run faster. Digital was disruptive, worse at first, weird, attractive only to niches. Then, year after year, good enough, and suddenly mandatory. The winning technology platform was semiconductors, software, consumer electronics, and fast iteration. Kodak's platform was precision chemistry at massive scale. Different learning curves, different factories, different winners. You cannot pivot from, we are a money-printing film cathedral, to, we are a consumer electronics company, by launching one cool product. You have to be willing to burn the cathedral on purpose while it is still profitable. Kodak was rarely willing, not because everyone was stupid, because the organization was designed to harvest film, and every serious move toward the future required attacking the machine that paid everyone. So the decades roll on, digital cameras get cheaper, phones appear, sharing becomes instant. The recurring revenue model collapses. Kodak keeps trying. Printers, ink, patents, licensing. But the center of gravity does not move in time. In January 2012, Eastman Kodak files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company that taught the world to say, Kodak moment, becomes the company that teaches MBA students what happens when the future shows up and your bonus structure is still married to the past. And now the lesson people take away is usually the wrong one. They missed digital. They did not miss digital. They had digital in the building before most of the public had heard of digital. They patented it. They productized pieces of it. They supplied Apple. They missed the future as a business they were willing to become. They saw the prototype. They did not see past the film checks. They did not miss the future in 1975. They could not afford to meet it, because every year the bonus math said, protect film. And if you think that is only a Kodak problem, you have not been in a meeting where this quarter's margin won and next decade's company lost. When short-term incentives beat long-term vision, failure is not a surprise. It is on the clock. If you just watched a company stare straight at its own future and blink, and you want more of exactly that, subscribe. We do this every week. One decision, one incentive, one company that knew better and chose this quarter anyway. Next time, Blockbuster. Everyone says Netflix killed it. Everyone is wrong. And the real culprit was sitting quietly in the late fee column.